Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for that soft intro, Jones. And thank you, Mr. Samoa. Thanks to our moderators. And thanks most especially to everyone that has been able to manage time out of their schedule to be here. That already shows your prioritizing attitude, right? So without much ado, once again, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're connecting from, whether in Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, here in the US, North America, Canada, Europe. I really, really am proud and happy to be able to talk to everyone tonight. So, I mean, um, most questions might be centered on me. I'm totally an open book. I don't mind answering them, but I don't want to be the focus on today's topic. I want us to talk about cloud, data, and AI most especially, right? So looking back 5, 10 years ago, a developer in Douala might need to have to create a physical server room to be able to build a product, right? Which is by itself a challenge, speaking of it. But today, all you need is a laptop or a mobile device and with a good internet connection. With that, you can deploy globally on AWS, on Azure, or on Google Cloud Platform in minutes. So that has totally shifted the opportunity. So tonight, I'm going to show you how we can make this happen, right? We're going to talk about a few things. Look at the numbers, for instance. If you think about it, and these are numbers that are backed by studies and those that are out there in larger organizations that budget the time and the money to do these studies. So we're looking at about a trillion, 1 trillion with a T by 2028 in terms of cloud computing market going past that amount. That is huge. But most of it is focused on Amazon's AWS, Google's GCP, and Microsoft's Azure. Together, they control over 60% of this global cloud per se. But that doesn't mean we don't have challenges. Their primary challenge is the people, those who need to be supporting this cloud, because everything on AI runs on cloud. Every data, every infrastructure is now built in such a way, not like a few years ago, that you can easily scale, that you can actually be on the edge to provide these services to the guys that you're serving, your customers, your clients. So with looking at about over 2.5 million new jobs just in a couple years, 2027, Africa definitely needs to have a bite of this pie. We need to also play a role in providing this skilled labor. All right. So you don't have to be in the United States of America or Canada or France or Belgium or Germany. You can be anywhere. You don't have to leave Cameroon to earn this competitive salary. You are actually in a better position. People are doing this in India. People are doing this in Pakistan. Why can't we do it in Africa when we have the same amazing minds? So that's where I come in to actually try to show you the path, from my own experience, the things that I've been able to go through, the lessons I've learned along the way. All right. So going back again to me, which I don't want to focus on, a little bit about me. I started in IT back in the 90s in Cameroon. All right. So I got done with my ordinary levels. You have some time to play around. I come from a background where education is inherent, like many, many of us back in Cameroon. If you know how to play soccer, nobody cares about that. You have to go to school. Soccer was looked upon as for dropouts. If you know how to play music, that's your problem. We don't care about that. You're either becoming a medical doctor or a lawyer. Those are the two professions we all grew up knowing. So nobody knew about computers back then. My very first piece of hardware I bought was a floppy disk, because I went to after school, after I finished my GCE, I was sitting around doing nothing. I enrolled in these so-called evening classes. It was already a challenge to get there. I needed transport to go to it. So sometimes they give you your transport, you eat the money and you walk. You also need some extra money to buy some chocolates, some puff puff, and so on and so forth. So I requested 500 francs to be able to buy a diskette. I think a diskette was 100 francs, so I had to eat 200 or so out of that money. So I bought 3 of them. Again, these are not brand new diskettes. The guy teaching us computers had a copy or two that were extras. He had files in them. We had to go and learn how to use the DOS command line, this operating system, to delete it, clean it up, start using, WordPerfect, and so on and so forth. So that's how I got introduced. Nobody owned a computer. You had to go somewhere to use the computer, and so on and so forth. So it all originated from that. But then, I went to my undergraduate at University of Buea. computer science was brand new. You were either learning math or physics, but the next year we were introduced to computer science. Again, we're not in a position for anyone to learn anything special there. So I enrolled in life sciences, microbiology. Graduated after a few years, and I got lucky. I got scholarship and moved to Hawaii. In Hawaii, I was admitted to study nursing, master's in nursing, because my undergraduate was in microbiology. But when I got there, they requested I needed to take some prerequisites, which is natural. English wasn't a problem. We studied in English in Cameroon. I did my TOEFL, GRE, all that stuff, which wasn't a problem. But, they were not happy with my grades. They wanted me to do a few prerequisites, and I was resistant. I told them my level of education in Cameroon is a lot difficult than what you have here. So rather than me going through prerequisites, I'll rather go through my second choice. So that's how I enrolled into MSIS, Master of Science in Information Systems, and my journey began. So from Hawaii, went to school, worked at Bank of Hawaii, moved from there to Colorado, University of Colorado, Denver, where I had my second master's degree in bioinformatics. And then from there, moved from Colorado to Texas, where I worked with JP Morgan Chase, also taught at Alamo Colleges as an adjunct faculty, and finally moved to Michigan, where I was a lead corporate IT trainer at UWM, which stands for United Wholesale Mortgage, the number one mortgage company in the US and also in FinTech. So from there, I've been in and out of a few other gigs that I do personally, including founding Vi-2s-Dk, which, as you see on my logo, Virtual Ideas to Software Development Knowledge, both the LLC in the US and the foundation in Cameroon. Again, trying to, be out there to either empowering or educating or inspiring those that want to get into IT. And more recently, I did found learnitfree.com, which is a huge resource where you find over 2,000 free certifications, over 750 ebooks, as well as over 500 videos for you to watch and learn everything about IT. So this isn't just theory. This is something I've lived throughout my life. And Africa is ripe. We all know that. And I'll encourage you, whatever questions you have, throw it my way. I did speak with the moderator recently and asked him to drop the link, learnitfree.com/cloudheroesafrica. On there, you should be able to see everything we're going to cover today. Our agenda, which I might not follow it strictly, but just so we manage our time better and give enough time for everybody to ask all your questions. A few things that I want to point out from the agenda, as you'd see, is first off, we'll talk about if everybody is with me, you can always slide in there. A few things, why cloud, why AI, why the African opportunity, some universal cloud fundamentals you should know, and of course the elephant in the room, the big three, AWS, Azure versus GCP, and artificial intelligence is everywhere. You cannot, sleep on that. So we'll talk about AI and ML skills ladder, also some career paths, titles, and remote salaries, which people always entice to look at. And what currently are some of the things I'm working on, like the Anthropic series with the live Q&A. So I'm not sure. That was a lengthy introduction. That was a lengthy talk. I'm not sure if I covered everything. What questions do you have?
Thank you so much. That was an amazing and inspiring introduction. It just gives me some chills because that showed determination, so that you are focused, you never took your eyes off the goal. I think I don't know about other people, but I feel so inspired. Jones, do you have any questions in the chat? In the chat? No questions. We don't have questions in the chat so far. Oh. Okay. Guys, at any time you can post your questions in the chat so that when the speaker posts, we can read them and show you.
Awesome. And feel free to raise your hand if you want to interrupt, if you feel that, the question is for the moment. Jump right in. I'm very willing and I'm happy to accommodate that. If it's worth keeping for the parking lot, we can save it to the end or, follow through later on after that. Sounds great? Awesome. So now let's talk about, so far we've talked about the introduction. I've talked about who I am, all those important things. And again, I think I did touch on, why we should be looking at cloud, some of the key things. But before we dive into AWS, Azure, and GCP individually, let's look at the most valuable insight on this entire session, which is understanding these universal cloud fundamentals, right? I know most of us here are at different levels of our journey. Most people are already living it. Some are still new to it. So I'm not going to go in depth. I'm going to make sure it is on the baseline. Everybody is comfortable that way. We're not looking over anybody's head. It's going to be a gentle introduction. I'll try using analogies that would be perfectly understandable with you. But please, like I said, interject, jump in with questions wherever you have